The airplane rose slowly into the bright sky of New York. Inside the cabin, passengers adjusted their seats and prepared for the long journey across the ocean. Some people read magazines, others whispered to each other, and a few closed their eyes to rest. Among the many passengers sat a 17-year-old boy named Malik. He was tall for his age, but still carried the look of a young dreamer. His dark eyes followed every movement around him. He wore simple clothes and carried a second-hand backpack that had a few books and some snacks inside. This was the first time Malik was traveling so far, and he had saved every bit of money from small jobs in his neighborhood to buy the ticket. He looked out of the small window with wonder, watching the buildings below turn smaller and smaller until they looked like toys. Near the front of the plane sat a woman named Anna. She was in her late 20s, gentle in appearance with soft brown hair tied back neatly. She wore a loose dress and often placed her hands on her round belly. Anna was pregnant and traveling without her husband. At first she seemed calm and steady. She had spoken kindly to the flight attendants and smiled when the elderly man beside her made a small joke about the long flight. The hours passed slowly. Malik tried to keep himself busy. He listened to music through his old earphones, opened a book but found it hard to focus, and glanced around at the different faces in the cabin. He noticed Anna more than once. Sometimes she shifted uncomfortably in her seat, pressing one hand firmly against her stomach. Malik thought she might just be tired from sitting too long, but something about her expression made him watch her closely. After some time, the atmosphere of the flight began to change. The seatbelt lights were off and people walked to stretch their legs. Flight attendants moved down the aisles offering water and meals. Children laughed as they played with their toys. In the middle of all this, Anna's calm smile disappeared. Her breathing grew heavier and her face became pale. She leaned back and held her stomach tighter. The passenger beside her asked softly if she was feeling all right. Anna nodded quickly, but her voice was weak. Malik's heart began to beat faster. He had once seen something similar when his neighbor went into labor in the small apartment building where he lived. The neighbor's sister had guided the birth until the nurse arrived, and Malik had watched from the doorway, frozen in shock yet amazed at the strength of the woman. That memory flashed in his mind now as he watched Anna on the plane. Suddenly, Anna let out a sharp sound of pain. The laughter in the cabin stopped. People turned their heads toward her seat. The flight attendant hurried forward, worry clear on her face. She asked if there was a doctor on board. The words echoed through the cabin. Everyone looked around, waiting for someone to stand, but no one moved. The silence felt heavy. Anna's lips trembled as she whispered, "The baby, it is coming." Her hands clutched her belly as another wave of pain struck her. Panic spread among the passengers. Some gasped, others covered their mouths, and many simply froze. Malik felt his legs shake, but he stood. His voice came out firm, though his heart raced. "I can help," he said loudly enough for the people around him to hear. The flight attendant turned, surprised. She saw a teenage boy standing with steady eyes, though his hands clenched tightly at his sides. She hesitated, unsure what to say. Passengers whispered to one another. Could a boy this young truly help a woman giving birth thousands of feet in the air? The situation seemed impossible. Anna opened her eyes and reached for Malik's hand. Her grip was strong, even though her face was pale. "Please," she said in a faint but urgent voice, "do not let anything happen to my baby." In that instant, Malik felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was only 17, but something inside him refused to step back. He thought of his mother, who had always told him that courage is not about age but about heart. He thought of his little sister, who often looked up to him and believed he could solve any problem. Malik squeezed Anna's hand gently and nodded. His voice carried a calm strength. "I will help you. You are not alone." The cabin filled with tension. Every passenger watched the strange scene unfold. A young boy offering to guide a woman through the most difficult moment of her life, inside a plane high above the ocean. None of them could guess how this moment would change his life forever. The cabin of the airplane felt tense. People whispered nervously, and some children started to cry because they could sense the fear around them. The flight attendants tried to calm everyone, but their own faces showed worry. Anna was breathing fast, holding Malik's hand tightly. Sweat covered her forehead as she leaned back in the seat. One of the attendants spoke quickly into the small phone connected to the pilot. She explained the situation, asking if they should try to land. The pilot answered that they were flying over the ocean and there was no airport nearby. The plane had to keep going for several more hours before landing. The news spread through the cabin and fear grew stronger. People looked at each other, realizing that help from a hospital was impossible. Whatever happened, it had to happen on this plane. Malik took a deep breath. He remembered what he had seen years ago when his neighbor gave birth. He had not been the one to help then, but he had watched carefully. Now he felt that memory guide him. He spoke with a voice that was steadier than he expected. "Bring warm towels, water, and something clean," Malik told the flight attendant, "and please make space around her." The flight attendant blinked in surprise. She was used to adults giving instructions, not a boy. But something in Malik's tone made her listen. She hurried away with another attendant to gather supplies. Passengers moved quickly, clearing the seats around Anna. A woman offered her jacket as a cushion. Another handed over a clean blanket. People who moments ago were frozen in fear now began to help, inspired by Malik's calmness. Anna groaned in pain. Malik knelt beside her seat and whispered softly, "You are strong. I am here with you. Just breathe." Her eyes met his, full of fear but also trust. She nodded weakly and followed his words, trying to steady her breath. Malik guided her through slow inhales and exhales, just like he remembered the nurse doing for his neighbor. The attendants returned with towels, bottles of water, and a small medical kit. Malik quickly set things up. He wiped his hands carefully and used the blanket to cover Anna for privacy. The passengers nearby turned their faces away respectfully but still watched with worried eyes. Minutes felt like hours. The sounds of the engines mixed with Anna's cries of pain and Malik's calm instructions. He spoke gently, reminding her that she was not alone. Every time her strength seemed to fade, Malik encouraged her again. "You can do this. Your baby is ready to meet you. Stay strong." At one point, Anna grabbed his arm with surprising force. "I am afraid," she whispered. Malik leaned closer, his voice quiet but firm. "I know, but you are brave. You are not alone. Look at me. Trust me." Her breathing slowed again and she nodded. Tears filled her eyes, but she held on to his words. The plane continued across the endless ocean. The pilot announced over the speaker that the crew was handling the emergency and asked passengers to stay calm. People prayed quietly. Some held hands and others whispered words of support. In the middle of it all, Malik stayed focused only on Anna. Time passed, and soon it was clear that the baby was close to coming. Malik's heart pounded, but his hands moved with surprising steadiness. He gave instructions to the attendants, who followed his lead as if he had been trained. Everyone was amazed by the courage of the teenager. Finally, after one more cry of pain, a small sound filled the air. It was thin at first, then grew louder. The cry of a newborn baby spread through the cabin, replacing fear with relief and joy. Anna collapsed back in her seat, tears of exhaustion and happiness on her face. The flight attendants carefully wrapped the baby in a towel and placed it gently in her arms. She looked at the tiny life she had brought into the world, then turned her eyes to Malik. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was weak but full of emotion. "You saved us," the passengers clapped, some even cheered. For a moment, the airplane was filled with warmth and gratitude. People smiled at Malik with admiration. He lowered his head, shy and overwhelmed, but deep inside he felt a strength he had never known before. The journey was not over, but the hardest moment had passed. Malik sat back, his hands trembling only now that it was done. He looked out the window again, at the endless sky, and thought about how one choice had changed everything. Little did he know that this act of courage would not only touch Anna's heart, but also bring him face to face with a man whose life was about to change forever. The sound of the newborn baby filled the airplane cabin. It was soft at first, then strong and steady. Everyone who heard it felt a wave of relief. Passengers who had been holding their breath finally smiled. Some clapped their hands, others wiped tears from their eyes. The fear that had spread across the cabin only minutes earlier was now replaced with joy. Anna looked at her baby with wide eyes. She held the child close against her chest, whispering words only a mother could say. Her tears were not of pain anymore, but of pure happiness. The baby moved slightly in her arms, tiny fingers curling around the edge of the towel. Anna kissed the small forehead, unable to believe that her child had arrived safely thousands of feet above the ocean. Malik sat back in his seat, still breathing hard. His hands trembled, but his heart was steady. He looked at the baby and then at Anna, A quiet pride filled him. He was only 17, but he had helped bring a life into the world. For a moment, he forgot about his own struggles and worries. He had done something good, something that mattered. The flight attendants continued to move quickly, checking on Anna and the baby. One attendant brought more blankets to keep the child warm. Another offered Anna juice and water. They looked at Malik with respect, thanking him again and again. Passengers nearby leaned over to shake his hand or pat him on the shoulder. "You are brave," an older woman told him with a kind smile. Malik blushed and lowered his head. "I just did what I could." Anna reached out and touched his arm gently. Her voice was weak but filled with gratitude. "You saved me and my baby. I will never forget this." Malik nodded, not knowing what else to say. He had never expected to be in such a situation. He was just a boy who had boarded a plane for his first long trip. Yet fate had placed him in the middle of an emergency, and he had chosen to act. The baby began to cry again, and Anna smiled through her exhaustion. The passengers laughed softly, the tension of the flight finally broken. Even the pilot made an announcement from the cockpit. His voice came through the speakers, calm but full of praise. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have just welcomed a new passenger on board. Both mother and baby are safe thanks to the courage and quick action of a young man among us. Please join me in giving him a round of applause." The cabin filled with clapping again, louder this time. Malik felt his cheeks burn. He wanted to hide, but at the same time he felt proud. He waved his hand shyly, and people smiled warmly at him. Hours passed slowly as the plane continued toward its destination. The attendants checked on Anna often. They made a small bed out of extra blankets so she could rest more comfortably. The baby slept peacefully beside her, tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Malik stayed close, making sure she had water or anything else she needed. He did not feel tired, even though his body was exhausted. His mind was still full of the moment he had just lived. He thought about his own mother, who worked hard every day to support their small family. He thought about his younger sister, who always said he was her hero. For the first time, Malik felt that maybe she was right. When the plane finally began its descent, the passengers prepared for landing. The city lights shone brightly below as the aircraft lowered through the clouds. Anna held her baby tightly, whispering a prayer of thanks. Malik looked out the window, feeling a sense of peace. The plane touched down smoothly. Passengers clapped once more, happy to have arrived safely. But this landing was different from all others. This flight had carried more than people across the sky. It had carried courage, hope, and a new life. As the doors opened and people stood to leave, airport staff entered quickly to help Anna and her baby. They brought a wheelchair and guided her carefully out of the cabin. Before she left, she turned once more to Malik. Her eyes were filled with emotion. "You will meet my husband," she said softly. "I want him to know what you did for us." Malik nodded. He had not thought much about the woman's family, but now he realized that someone very important was waiting for her outside. He did not know that this meeting would bring a new turn in his own life, one that he could never have imagined. With the baby safe in Anna's arms and the plane now on the ground, Malik stepped into a new chapter of his journey. What had begun as a simple flight was about to connect him with people who lived in a world far different from his own. The airplane doors opened, and the passengers slowly walked out. The long journey had finally ended. People stretched their arms, collected their bags, and spoke about the surprising event that had taken place in the sky. Some still looked back at Malik with smiles of respect. Word had already spread that a 17-year-old boy had helped deliver a baby mid-flight. Malik stepped off the plane with his old backpack hanging from his shoulder. His body felt tired, but his mind was sharp with the memory of what had happened. He still saw the face of Anna, pale but glowing with happiness as she held her newborn child. Inside the airport, the bright lights and noise of travelers surrounded him. Families reunited with hugs. Business people hurried past with their phones, and children ran with excitement. Malik walked slowly, not sure what to expect. He had planned to come here quietly, but now everything was different. Ahead of him, near the gate, stood a tall man in an expensive suit. His presence was strong, and people seemed to notice him even without knowing who he was. His eyes searched the crowd anxiously until they fell on Anna, who was being pushed in a wheelchair by airport staff. She held the baby close to her chest, smiling through her exhaustion. The man rushed forward. "Anna," he said with relief. bending to kiss her forehead and then looking at the baby with awe. "You are safe. And our child." His voice broke as he touched the tiny hand that peeked from the blanket. Anna's eyes filled with tears. "We are safe because of him," she said softly, turning her head toward Malik. The man followed her gaze and saw the young boy standing a few steps behind, quiet and unsure. At first the man seemed surprised. He had expected a doctor or an experienced nurse. Instead, he saw a teenager in simple clothes, carrying a worn backpack. Anna explained quickly what had happened on the plane, how Malik had stepped forward when no one else did, how he had stayed calm, and how his courage had saved both her and the baby. The man listened carefully, his expression changing from disbelief to deep respect. When she finished, the man walked toward Malik. He extended his hand firmly. "My name is David," he said. "I am Anna's husband. You saved the lives of my wife and child. I owe you more than words can say." Malik shook his hand nervously. "I only did what I could. I am glad they are safe." David studied the boy for a moment. He was used to dealing with business partners and wealthy people, but there was something different about Malik, something honest and strong. David could see that Malik was not seeking praise or reward. Airport staff led Anna and the baby to a private area for medical checks. David invited Malik to come along. Inside, doctors examined Anna and the baby carefully. Both were healthy, though Anna was told she needed rest. While Anna rested in the quiet room, David sat beside Malik. "Tell me about yourself," he said. Malik looked down at his hands. "I am 17. I live with my mother and younger sister. My father passed away years ago. My mother works hard, but money is always short. I saved for months to buy this ticket. I wanted to travel and see more of the world." David listened closely. He saw that Malik's words were simple, but behind them was strength, sacrifice, and determination. "You acted with courage when everyone else froze," David said. "That shows true character. Many people with more experience would not have stepped forward, but you did, and because of you, my family is safe." Malik did not know how to respond. Praise from a man like David felt heavy. He just nodded quietly. Later, Anna woke and asked for Malik to come closer. She held her baby and smiled. "He will grow up knowing that you were the first person to help him in this world," she said softly. Malik felt warmth spread in his chest. He had not thought of it that way, but her words touched him deeply. As they prepared to leave the airport, David turned to Malik again. "I cannot let this end here. You will come with us, at least for a meal. I want to hear more about you. And I want to thank you properly." Malik hesitated. He was not used to such invitations, especially from strangers who looked so powerful and wealthy. But he saw the sincerity in David's eyes and the gratitude in Anna's smile. He finally nodded. "All right." What Malik did not know was that this meeting at the airport was only the beginning. His simple act of courage in the sky was about to open doors he never thought possible. The car that came to pick them up was long and black. Malik had never ridden in such a car before. The seats were soft leather and the inside smelled clean and fresh. He sat quietly at the back while Anna rested with her baby in her arms. David sat beside them, his arm around his wife as he kept looking at their newborn child with joy. Through the window, Malik saw tall buildings shining in the night. The city lights looked brighter than he had ever seen. His neighborhood back home was small and simple, but here everything looked big and full of power. Malik felt out of place, but he also felt curious about this new world. Soon the car stopped in front of a wide house with tall gates. The driveway was long, lined with lights and green plants. The house itself was large, with glass windows and walls of stone. Malik stepped out slowly, his old backpack hanging from his shoulder. He had never imagined standing in front of such a house. Inside, the rooms were even grander. There were paintings on the walls, wide sofas, and golden lights that filled every corner. The sound of quiet music came from a speaker hidden somewhere in the room. Malik looked around, careful not to touch anything. A kind-looking older woman came forward and greeted Anna. She was the housekeeper, and she quickly guided Anna and the baby to a bedroom to rest. David turned to Malik. "Come," he said. "You must be hungry. Join me for dinner." They entered a wide dining hall with a long table. Plates of warm food were already set. Malik hesitated, but David gestured for him to sit. Soon the two of them sat across from each other. Malik had never seen so much food at once. There were roasted meats, bowls of soup, fresh bread, and fruits. David filled Malik's plate. "Eat as much as you like," he said with a smile. Malik began slowly, trying not to look too surprised. The taste of the food was rich, far better than the simple meals he usually had at home. Still, he ate politely, not rushing. As they ate, David spoke. "I want to know more about you. You said you live with your mother and sister. What are your dreams, Malik?" Malik paused, his fork halfway to his mouth. No one had ever asked him that so directly before. He thought for a moment and then spoke honestly. "I want to study. I want to go to college. But it is hard. My mother works long hours and we struggle to pay for many things. Sometimes I think I should just work to help my family. But my dream is to learn more and maybe become a doctor one day." David listened carefully, his eyes steady. "A doctor," he repeated. "That makes sense. You already showed calmness and skill today. You acted when everyone else was afraid. You guided my wife through the hardest moment of her life. I believe you could make a fine doctor." Malik felt his heart beat faster. Hearing such words from a man like David felt unreal. He had often doubted himself, but here was someone saying he had potential. David leaned forward slightly. "Do you know who I am, Malik?" Malik shook his head. "No, sir. I built a company many years ago," David explained. "It has grown into one of the largest in the country. People call me a millionaire, but to me wealth only matters when it is used for good. And today a young man saved the two most important people in my life. That is worth more than all the money I have." Malik looked down at his plate, unsure what to say. He was not used to hearing such powerful words directed at him. David continued, his voice calm but firm. "I want to help you. Tell me what you need most right now. Do not be shy. Ask me anything." Malik froze. This was the moment many people dreamed of. To be asked by a wealthy man to make a request. He thought of his family, of his mother working late into the night, of his sister studying with worn-out books. He thought of his dream to become a doctor, a dream that often felt impossible. Slowly, Malik lifted his head. His voice was soft but steady. "If I could ask for something, it would be a chance. A chance to study without worrying that my family will suffer. I do not want money for myself. I want an education. That is all." David leaned back in his chair, his eyes filled with respect. He had expected the boy to ask for riches, gifts, or a reward. Instead, Malik asked only for a chance to learn. In that moment, David knew this meeting was not by accident. The courage of the boy on the plane was only the beginning. Malik sat across from David, feeling nervous. He had never been treated this way by a wealthy person before. Most adults he knew judged him for his age or his simple background. But David listened as if every word Malik said mattered. That alone gave him courage. David placed his hands on the table and looked at Malik directly. "You are a remarkable young man," he said. "Most people would have panicked when my wife went into labor on that plane. But you acted with calmness and skill. That shows a rare quality." Malik looked down, unsure how to respond. He had only done what he thought was right. Helping Anna had felt natural even though it scared him. "I just wanted to help," he said quietly. "I did not think about being remarkable." David smiled warmly. "That is exactly what makes you remarkable. Most people act only for themselves. You acted for someone else without fear. That is the kind of courage and heart I want to support." Malik's hands trembled slightly. He had never heard anyone speak to him like this. His life back home was simple and often difficult. He worked small jobs to help his mother, studied in a crowded room with his sister, and rarely imagined a future where someone like David would notice him. David leaned closer. "Malik, I want to offer you something. A chance to study. A chance to follow your dream of becoming a doctor. I can arrange for your tuition, your books, and your living expenses. Your family will not have to worry. You will have every opportunity to succeed." Malik's eyes widened. He could hardly believe his ears. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Then say yes," David said with a gentle smile. "Say yes to your future. Say yes to yourself." Malik felt a wave of emotions. Excitement, gratitude, and fear all mixed together. He thought about his mother working late at night, about his sister studying by candlelight, and about the dreams he had kept hidden because they seemed impossible. Now those dreams were within reach. Finally, Malik nodded. "Yes," he said firmly. "I will do my best. I promise." David's eyes sparkled with approval. "I knew you would say that." You have the heart and the mind to make a difference in the world, and this is just the beginning. After dinner, Malik was shown to a guest room in the house. The room was bright and simple, yet comfortable. He had a soft bed, clean sheets, and a small desk with a lamp. Malik sat at the desk and imagined his life ahead. Books, lectures, and long hours of study seemed possible now. He could almost see himself wearing a white coat, helping people and making his family proud. The next morning, Anna visited him with her baby. The tiny child was wrapped in a soft blanket, sleeping peacefully. Anna smiled at Malik. "Look at him," she said. "He is strong because of you. You helped him enter this world safely. You will always be part of our family story." Malik smiled, feeling shy but happy. He had never expected such words. He had only wanted to help a woman in need. Now he was being thanked in a way that felt far beyond anything he had imagined. David joined them shortly after. He handed Malik a notebook. "Use this to plan your studies. Make a list of what you need and want to learn. I will help you get it. You have my support completely." Malik took the notebook carefully. He felt a mixture of gratitude and responsibility. This was not a gift to be wasted. It was a chance rare and precious to shape his future. For the first time in his life, Malik felt that his dreams were real. He did not have to choose between helping his family and pursuing education. He could do both. And the courage he had shown on the plane had opened the door. As he sat in the quiet room thinking about the journey ahead, Malik knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same. The teenager who had once been nervous on a plane had now found a path that could lead to greatness. And it all began with a simple act of courage, a hand held in trust, and a heart that refused to turn away. Malik was ready. Malik woke up early the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the window of his new room. For the first time in his life, he had a quiet place to think and study. The notebook David had given him lay on the desk, waiting for him. Malik sat down and opened it carefully. His mind was full of ideas and plans. After a simple breakfast with Anna, David, and the baby, Malik began to write. He listed the subjects he wanted to study, the books he needed, and the steps to reach his dream of becoming a doctor. Everything felt possible now. The fear and uncertainty that had followed him for years were replaced with hope and determination. David watched Malik from a distance. He had invited him into his home not only to thank him, but also to guide him toward a better future. Malik was humble but focused, and David knew he had found a rare young man. He has a spark, David thought. A spark that can light up the world if given the chance. Over the next few days, Malik adjusted to life in the new house. The staff treated him kindly, making sure he had everything he needed. Anna's motherly words encouraged him, and the baby's soft presence brought a sense of peace. Malik helped where he could, carrying small packages or folding blankets, but his main focus remained on his studies. David arranged for tutors to meet Malik daily. They came to the house to teach science, mathematics, and language. Malik absorbed every lesson eagerly. He asked questions, took notes, and practiced carefully. His determination impressed everyone who taught him. They often said, "We have never seen a student so focused at his age." Evenings were quiet. Malik would sit by the window looking at the city lights, thinking about his mother and sister back home. He missed them, but knew that every effort he made here would benefit them too. He imagined their faces when he returned, holding certificates, books, and stories of his success. That thought pushed him to work harder. One afternoon, Anna called Malik into the living room. "David and I want to show you something," she said. They led him to a small room filled with medical equipment. There were simple mannequins, models of the human body, and tools used by doctors. "This is for you," David explained. "You will practice here, learn, and become confident. Everything you need to begin your journey is here." "You earned it with your courage." Malik felt his heart race. He had never imagined touching real medical tools, learning the science of the human body in such a way. He thanked David and Anna quietly, his voice shaking with excitement. Days turned into weeks. Malik's skills grew. He learned to read charts, understand the body's functions, and handle basic medical procedures under careful supervision. Every small achievement made him more confident. The same courage that had guided him on the plane now guided his studies. David noticed the change. "Malik," he said one evening, "you are not just learning. You are preparing to make a difference. One day you will help many people, just like you helped Anna and her baby." That is the true reward of your courage and effort. Malik smiled, feeling proud but humble. He knew the journey was long. There would be challenges, long hours of study and moments of doubt. But he also knew that he had the support and guidance to overcome them. Late at night, Malik sat by the window, thinking about the events that had brought him here. He remembered the plane, Anna's fear, the cries of the baby and the rush of passengers around him. That memory was no longer just a story of survival. It was the moment that had changed his life forever. Malik closed his notebook, feeling a quiet satisfaction. He had taken the first step toward his dream. The teenage boy who had once been unsure and ordinary was now on a path to something extraordinary. The courage he had shown, the kindness he had offered, and the determination he now carried would shape not only his future, but the lives of many others he would one day help. Malik went to bed that night with a calm heart. The journey was far from over, but he was ready. Every morning would bring new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities. And Malik knew that no matter what came, he would face it with the same bravery that had guided him on the airplane that changed his life. Months passed quickly. Malik's days were full of study, practice, and learning. He woke up early, sometimes before the sun rose, and spent hours reading books about medicine and the human body. Tutors visited daily, guiding him through lessons and exercises. Malik's determination never wavered. Every time he made a mistake, he learned from it and tried again. Anna and David watched him with admiration. Anna would often say, "Malik, you remind me of hope. You give everyone around you courage." David, too, noticed how focused and disciplined Malik had become. "He is extraordinary," David told Anna one evening. "Not just for what he did on the plane, but for who he is every day." The baby grew quickly. Malik often held the child, smiling as the little hands reached for his fingers. Anna and David encouraged him to take breaks, reminding him that rest was important. But Malik always returned to his studies, eager to learn more. One afternoon, David called Malik into his study. The room was lined with books and papers, and sunlight poured in from the large windows. David sat at his desk and looked at Malik with a serious yet kind expression. "Malik," he began, "I have been thinking. You have shown courage, focus, and intelligence. You have learned quickly and worked hard every day. I want to offer you something more than education here. I want to help you attend a medical school of your choice. I will make sure you have every opportunity to succeed." Malik's eyes widened. He had never imagined this. Medical school had always seemed like a distant dream. Now it was within reach. His heart raced with excitement. I don't know what to say," Malik whispered. "This is more than I could ever hope for." David smiled. "You do not have to say anything. Just promise me you will continue to work hard and never forget the courage and kindness that brought you here." Malik nodded, tears filling his eyes. "I promise," he said. "I will do my best always." The following weeks were filled with planning. David helped Malik choose the school and organize all the necessary documents. Anna provided guidance and encouragement, and the baby's presence reminded Malik why he was working so hard. Every time he held the child, he felt a sense of responsibility and purpose. Finally, the day came when Malik left for medical school. Anna and David hugged him tightly at the airport. "Remember," Anna said softly, "you have already achieved so much. Keep going, Malik, you will make us proud." David added, "And never forget that your courage and heart brought you here. That is what will carry you forward." Malik boarded the plane with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This time he was not just a passenger. He was a young man with a goal, a purpose, and a dream that was becoming real. As the plane took off, he looked out the window, thinking of the journey that had started with a single moment of courage on another flight. At medical school, Malik faced new challenges. The lessons were difficult, the workload heavy, and the competition fierce. But he remembered the confidence he had gained on the plane and in David's house. Every challenge became an opportunity to grow. He asked questions, helped classmates, and never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. Years passed. Malik's hard work paid off. He graduated with honors, earning the title of doctor. His first patients were children and families in his hometown. Malik never forgot where he came from, and he wanted to give back. The same courage that had saved Anna and her baby now guided him in helping countless others. One day, Anna, David, and the baby, now a healthy toddler, visited Malik at his clinic. They hugged him tightly, proud of the young man he had become. "You have done so much, Malik," Anna said. You are saving lives just as you saved mine." David smiled and added, "We knew from the first moment on that plane that you would achieve great things. You made that day more than an event. You made it a beginning." Malik looked at the child now running around the clinic and then at Anna and David. "I only did what felt right," he said softly. "But you believed in me, and that gave me the chance to dream bigger. I will never forget that." The journey that began on a plane with fear and uncertainty had turned into a life of purpose, courage, and hope. Malik had proven that even a single act of kindness and bravery could change lives, not only for others but for oneself. As the sun set outside the clinic windows, Malik smiled. He knew that his story was only beginning. The boy who had saved a life in the sky had become a young doctor, ready to face the world, one life at a time. The future was bright, and Malik was ready